And what I'm referring to is getting rid of the poor guy. Not just the poor guy, but the middle class, You've got to look at the big picture and, I think they've got themselves into something that at the present time they're really wanting to get rid of, which is us. So it's a weeding out process. And that's what I'm trying to say. Okay, we're on. I've been live for just about 30 seconds or a minute maybe, but we're on. And so I just mentioned that we're going to have a show on monetization, and I was just speaking about YouTube doing a weeding out, I believe in the big picture, like we kind of discussed a little bit about, and ultimately I think that's what they're trying to do. They're really trying to weed us out because they know over time, a few of us may stick around, but ultimately I think corporate wants to just take over, and get rid of us little peons. So go ahead and take over. Go ahead and with the subject matter.
Yes, Ken, thank you very much. That's a good description of what I see happening. A number of other YouTube content creators, one of them whom I watch occasionally, he's a libertarian, and his name is Texanhammer666. Several months ago, he began to point out the censorship that's taking place there on YouTube, and it was directed, at specific small content creators, often based upon their beliefs, whatever that might be. And they were picking on these people in terms of either demonetizing them or lowering their search so that they don't get as many views and stuff. All right, that's part of that whole thing. It's an attack on freedom of speech. Basically, certain corporate interests are on there. I experienced it when the sniper in Las Vegas shot all those people from his hotel room, and basically my video about that, it was a news video reporting basically, was demonetized. But yeah, the big networks that put stuff on YouTube, CBS, Fox, NBC, they did stories about it, and theirs continued to remain monetized. So there's a selective thing going on in terms of how they single out smaller content creators for demonetization, and this is on the behest of the big corporate interests that are basically taking over YouTube. And they're known as the legacy media. You may also know them as the mainstream media. What they are the big boys with the big money. CBS, NBC, ABC, Fox, CNN, etc., etc. They sort of began to muscle their way into YouTube recently when they began to realize, hey, there's millions of viewers here. Hey, Joe Blow content creator has 1 million viewers.
Yeah.
Once the mainstream media started realizing that there's this huge audience on YouTube, they said, well, we want part of this pie. Well, you know how the corporations are. Part of their way of getting part of that pie is to marginalize or squeeze out the little guy. So basically they want to get rid of the small content creator. That definitely the mainstream media sees the small content creator as competition with them. They see the independent content creators as competition with them.
Right.
And so, since money normally talks and normally rules things, I mean, it's pretty easy to figure that one out.
See, there's an old adage, follow the money, or as the ancient Romans used to say, who benefits? Now stop and think for a minute. who owns the corporations? Well, the stockholders, you say, the investors. Yes, but it's usually 3 or 4 or 5 guys who are billionaires who own the majority of the stock. Somebody like George Soros, Warren Buffett, Carl Icahn, etc., etc. You can even take, an outfit such as Google, and there's just 5 or 6 people who own the majority of the stock. And it's easy to look that up and see who the 5 principal stockholders of Google are. And when you stop and think about one company owning another and who profits and benefits off of any move that's made, and who's being sacrificed. When a CEO gets a $10 million bonus, or a golden parachute out for 12, 13 million, whatever, stop and look at how many workers get cut, how many people get downsized. Maybe they lay off 2,500 employees so they can give this CEO some kind of huge bonus. Happens all the time in the corporate world. It's easy to research all of this stuff. So remember, the average working guy in the lower middle class, the middle class itself, they're at war with us. The big corporate entities, the 1%ers, the billionaire class, are exploiting and using, and we're considered disposable. It doesn't matter whether you work or not. It doesn't really matter whether you have health care or not. It doesn't really matter what happens to you. The owners of the big corporations, the billionaire class, are only concerned about their own back pocket, about their own well-being. They're not particularly concerned at all with mankind as a whole, or with people in general. And I don't know why that is so difficult for many people to accept, because it's quite obvious. There's no big secret here.